Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Glowing Card Gaming. I'm your host, Adam. As you may notice, the lighting is a little different here. I had a comment or two directly. I mean, there's no comments in the videos that you can tell this, but I had some comments on the lighting. So eventually, I'm going to get a better camera and a better microphone as well, so I can really do this properly. And with enough money coming in, I'll get somebody to do editing and producing and actually make this into a show. I mean, that's the plan anyway. So be sure to like, subscribe, and share this and hit that notification button so you know when new videos are posted, and as well as when I am live streaming those video game moments. So there we go. Today I wanted to talk about week 9 of the NFL. Well, at least a little bit of it. I mean, I didn't watch a whole heck of a lot of it. Um, I did watch the second half of the Kansas City Miami game. Now, granted, I predicted that Miami would win that game, and of course, they didn't. They lost 21-14. I caught it when I think it was 20. I think I caught really before any other scoring went on. So I think I caught it when it was 21-14 because I didn't catch the first half of it when Kansas City was up 21-0. And then I don't remember, it might have been 21-7. And then I saw the Miami score. I came in right after that, so I got the replay of it. Because I do remember seeing the catch, the touchdown pass there. For the remainder of the game, from what I saw, nothing's really changed my mind about Kansas City, although I do think Miami isn't as good as I thought they were. It's turning into an interesting NFL, and this weekend really kind of gave everybody the who's who of the NFL, because many of the games were between teams that had the same record. So you really could tell out of those teams who the better teams were. I hated to see that the Raiders just crushed the Bills. That is unfortunate. I mean, it bodes really well for Denver coming up after the bye for several reasons. One, the Raiders are a pretty good team, and with the interim coach, they actually, like I said, I don't like saying this because I hate the Raiders. I grew up. I was born in '76, so you can kind of guess how old I am. I lived through always first season, although I don't remember that too well. I started watching the Broncos um, about his second or third season. Was really when I started watching. And during that time, it was rivalry. And I'm not sure there have been many rivalries in sports that are bigger than Denver, Oakland, Denver, LA, Denver, Las Vegas. Although it doesn't seem as big of a rivalry anymore as it used to. I mean, back in the 80s, the 70s and 80s, Lyle Alzado, all the silver and black and orange and blue, like, there was some real vitriol and hate going back and forth between those teams. But it wasn't without talent and getting just really good matchups. And it's kind of strange because the way things have been going for Denver, it's been very strange in that I don't know if they lead any divisional overall record. I know they don't lead uh, with Las Vegas. I think they are down 9 games now. I thought I was going to see Denver come back and actually take the lead in that. And thanks to Pat Bowlen, we have come a long way back. Because when I started watching, I think it was like the Raiders owned the Broncos. It was like 40 in the overall series, or 35 or something like that. And up until just a few years ago, we were clawing back, and I think we got within 5. I think that's what it was. So, we've had a couple off years, a couple of down years. Again, the ownership changing around, and the passing of Pat Bowlen really has hurt the Broncos, I think, more than anything else. Because he was able to get that talent stuff. And I kind of mentioned that last week in my last video. Pat Bowlen really was the heart and soul of the Denver Broncos, and he knew talent. He knew what he wanted to do with the Broncos, and did it, and he did it well. And there, I didn't quite mention all of the owners. Steinbrenner, when you talk about owners that knew talent and could really get wins, I think Steinbrenner was kind of one of those. Unfortunately, Jerry Jones for the Cowboys, really, I don't think he's the one. Jimmy Johnson really delivered the Super Bowls there. And when Barry Switzer took over for him and won that Super Bowl for him, I think that was Jimmy Johnson's team still, really, and his setup. I think that when Barry Switzer took over for them, took over coaching the team, and you could tell like the next 4 years were just a really decline into just awfulness. Jerry Jones wants to oversee the team, wants to run it. I don't think he really knows the talent, and they just haven't been good since. And Jimmy Johnson, he knew, and he knows his stuff. So I mean, if I were a football team, I might even look at getting him in as a talent scout or an advisor on who to pick and looking at that talent. I mean, there's certain people. Gruden, I think John Gruden was pretty good at that, although not as good as Johnson. There are some people that really know that side of things, and those are the people you need to keep. And you have to realize that you can't let your ego be bigger than your team or the game. And if you can do that, you can be really successful. So, not to harp too much on that, but I mean, throughout the years, you can tell good ownership from bad ownership. I mean, it's pretty easy, especially when you look at a team for a longer period, 10, 20, 30 years. You can tell when ownership wants to win championships. And by the way, that if the owner is about the money, they should be about the wins, because winning teams make the most money. Period. They sell more merchandise. They're better loved. The fans travel better. I mean, you win championships, you're going to be set. That being said, getting back to Week 9 in the NFL, I think the AFC West, which is really what I know the best and what I'm really wanting to talk about. The Chiefs winning today in Germany, while not necessarily so much of an upset, I mean, it's kind of expected, but I think both the victory last week by the Denver Broncos over the Kansas City Chiefs and this week's Miami, even the loss, has shown how to beat the Chiefs. If teams are really paying attention, I mean, just that second half, Kansas City scored 0 points. None. And if Miami had just done a few things better and executed slightly better on offense, they win that game. I mean, it really was. It was almost a coin flip, really. Um, but you could see how Miami handled Travis Kelce, and they did shut him down in the second half. They couldn't use him, and that was the end of Kansas City. And I think if teams are really paying attention, and that you know what you're looking at on the field, and you're looking at that tape, I think teams are now going to see ways to beat Kansas City. I can't imagine Kansas City, and again, any guy with a camera now, like this guy, can comment on the NFL anymore, and have a little podcast like this one, and make predictions and put it all on the line. Now the question is, can we do it well, and how well do we, or me personally, know the game? Looking at this, I want to say I can't see Kansas City winning more than 4 more. I think they go 11-6. That's 4 more wins. I don't know where they're going to get them, but they could do it. As for winning the division, I know that the Raiders and the Chargers and the Broncos all have uphill battles, but I could see any one of those teams coming back and winning 12 games. I mean, for Denver, I think they pretty much have to win out to do that. So I don't think Denver will do it. But with the win today over Buffalo, that puts the Raiders at what, five wins, 4 losses. I think they must have their bye coming up. I think they're 5-4, or maybe they're 4-5. But either way, it's putting pressure on Kansas City for one. But I just, you can kind of tell things are shifting in the AFC West again. Kansas City, if they somehow manage to hold on to the division this year, this is probably going to be their last divisional win for a while. It's going to start being more of a competition between the Denver Broncos again and the Las Vegas Raiders, I think. With the Chargers coming and going and the Chiefs coming and going in the mix. There have been a few years where I've thought that, with the exception of Denver, in the past 5 or 6 years, the AFC West has been the toughest division. And I think this year that is not the case. I don't think the AFC West is the toughest division in football right now. And that's going to change. I think you're going to start to see the AFC West is going to become one of the toughest divisions of football. So, all of that being said, I'm not convinced Kansas City wins the division, even now. I know it's kind of a long shot, but I really hate to say it's probably going to be the Las Vegas Raiders. But with the coaching change coming when it did, it's one of the few times I think it's probably good that they did a coaching change mid-season. And that's tough to do. Mr. Davis may have actually made a good decision for once. Most of the time, not the most genius guy there. And I think it may be an accident, because he chose to sit outside like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago with the fans, and the fans were pretty brutal, saying he should fire Josh McDaniels and make a coaching change now. And he did. He listened to him. So, and usually you don't listen to the fans. The fans, I mean, they don't. Personally, they love the team. I think I know what's best for the Denver Broncos. But should the Denver Broncos listen to me on personnel decisions? Absolutely not. There's no way the Broncos should listen to me. Or really anybody. The ownership and that front office makes those decisions, period. That's it. They are the ones that have the extra data, the analysis, they have the scouting reports. They have all of it. We don't. And generally, we don't get that stuff. That's usually bought and paid for by the ownership of each team. So take that as you will. I don't really have anything major. There wasn't any major upsets or really anything else that happened in week 9 that is just overwhelming and outstanding that really is worth mentioning. Kind of a quiet week, to be honest. Yeah, if you have your favorite team, of course, that's the big thing in the week for you in the NFL. And it would have been for me had the Broncos played, and maybe there would have been more passion and more for me to look at or review. But overall, it pretty quiet. I don't think there was a lot of shocking things other than the two things I mentioned. Miami losing to Kansas City when I think they should have won. I still think they should have won. They played not that great. I don't think that Kansas won that as much as Miami lost it. Miami should have won that game. That's all I really need to say about it. Actually, there's nothing more to say. And then the other shocking thing was how bad the Las Vegas Raiders beat the Buffalo Bills. I think it was 30-3. And that's why I think that this upcoming week, Denver being better rested or well rested, and that defense playing as stiff as they are and as good as they are, I think this is probably a win for Denver coming up. Now I say that they'll probably lose, but with that D being a lot healthier, having another week to game plan, and seeing that film of the Raider Bill game, they have more tape to go on the Bills than the Bills do on the Broncos. So, and the Bills might have some tape to go on if we're going to try to run it, 30-something times in that game. They might have a game plan for that. So I hope Denver mixes it up just a little bit more, has some different looks, things that they can do versus Buffalo to get that win. I think it's still going to be a close game, and I think Buffalo does get their act together. Even though they're in Denver, I think they score more than 3 points on Denver. I don't know what happened this week versus Las Vegas. Maybe half the team was sick with the flu or something. I don't know. I don't know what the scouting reports were for that. But 3 points was not a lot. So just seeing a lot of that stuff going on, I think I can safely say I think Denver wins. I don't think they score as much as they did on the Chiefs. I think it kind of, they probably get an extra field goal and trade a touchdown for a field goal. So instead of 24, they get 9 and 2 touchdowns, 23 points. So I think they win by a field goal, 23-20. Denver wins that next week. That's my prediction. On the record, Denver wins next week, 23-20. Let's see what happens. That's going to be an interesting game. It's going to be close. It's in Denver, so I think Denver wins that. We'll see. They didn't play. Buffalo did not play well against the Bills. Von Miller's coming home, though, so you always expect uh, those team players that you've traded or cut to come back and bite you a little bit. And that's probably going to happen here, too. So, that being said, that's really all I got to say about the NFL. One other topic I'd like to talk about, and I probably won't spend a heck of a lot of time on this, but is the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Now, I don't talk about them as much as I should, especially since, I really only watch them in basketball and football. But it seems like year in and year out, Oklahoma State has a slightly better team than the wins and losses indicate. I mean, since I went there when I started in '94, and I have been watching both the Final Four with Eddie Sutton coaching in the basketball side of things, and the football era since then, with it was Les Miles, and there was a bunch of different head coaches back then, and then we got the mullet. Oh my God, I blanked on his name. If I remember, I'll mention it, but you can always look it up. But here's the amazing thing: if nobody follows college football as much, the Oklahoma State Cowboys beat the Oklahoma Sooners by a field goal this last week. Why is that important? Well, several reasons. The overall record of that matchup is really owned, unfortunately, by OU. It's like they've met, I think, 116 times or 118 times or something like that. And with the win yesterday, Oklahoma State, that's their 20th win, 2-0 out of. So it's like they tied 7. They tied 7 times. Back when I guess you could do that. Now they have overtimes until somebody scores, stops the other one from scoring, or prevents a touchdown and they get a field goal, and the other side gets a touchdown. It's complicated. So with that win, they get the 20th win. They've won 2 out of the last 3 years. They only play once a year, so it would take. I'll probably never in my lifetime see Oklahoma State take the series. They would have to play another 80 years, and they'd have to win out. Tell me that's going to happen. I'll wait, because I know that won't happen. But that rivalry ended yesterday. That was the last game for a while between OU and OSU, as OU is going to the ACC next year. So Bedlam, gone. See ya. But the last laugh goes to Oklahoma State, and OU is going to have to live with that probably for a decade, because that's probably how long it's going to be before they play again. And to be fair, I think Oklahoma State is a team that's really, and you could see on Saturday, maybe OU had an off day. I gotta kind of give them, maybe they had an off day, because when we beat them 3 years ago, because we lost last year and we won this year. So not yesterday, but 2 years prior, from yesterday when we beat them. It was such a different team. Both teams were so good. Like the level of talent and strength and just the speed and just the overall gameplay between those two teams was just so much higher. And the teams I saw yesterday, don't get me wrong, they're good. OU was 7-1 going into that game. They are ranked 9 in the country. And Oklahoma State not far behind. They were 6-2, one more loss, but they were ranked 22. And now with that win, they better be at least 15 going in to next week. But if they can win out, first of all, they'll win. If they win out, they'll also win the Big 12 because I think they will play for the Big 12 title. If they win the Big 12 title and they go to, what would that be? I think that would be 10-2. Because I think they have 2 more regular season games, and if they win that, they'll come out 9-2. It's 11. I think it's 11 regular season games. They win the Big 12 game. That's 10-2. They would actually have an outside shot at making the national playoff for the national title. Will they do that? Ugh. A lot would need to happen for that to actually happen, and they'd have to beat. I think it was Texas. Texas is probably who they'll have to play in the Big 12 championship. And I think right now Texas has 1 loss. So there are a lot of 1-loss teams that would be ahead of them right now. All of those 1-loss teams would have to lose at least 1 more. If that happens, and let's say, I can't remember any of the teams that are undefeated. I think it might be Ohio State and Clemson. If both of those teams lost 1 game, I think that might get them into the playoff scenario. But if you have 2 undefeated teams and some 1-loss teams, I don't think they get in. I don't think they get in. But if there are just if there's just 1 undefeated team and a bunch of, well, I wouldn't even say 1-loss teams. If there is like 1 undefeated team and 2 1-loss teams, Oklahoma State could get the 4th spot. That's how unlikely it is, though. I think there are like 9 teams that are either undefeated or 1 loss at this point. Well, OU now has 2, so 8 altogether. And I think most of those teams that are in that discussion won yesterday. I think OU is probably the exception. So, all of that being said, I don't think Oklahoma State gets in, but it's great to see them just have so much more talent and have a team that you can beat any. I think Oklahoma State could beat anybody in the nation right now. The problem and why they lost to like the Sun Devils in Arizona, one, it was like 100 degrees at night. So it was very hot and muggy there. I think that was the way it was described. And that was still a close game, but they had the first 2 games of the season they had, and it might have even been the first 3. They had this weird thing where they had 3 quarterbacks that could not figure out who they wanted to start. So they had all 3 of them play a third of the game. Very strange to see that. Now, in the future, what I'd like to see from Oklahoma State, or really anybody, is having maybe even some sort of preseason where you as a college, I would just set those games up myself. I would have a preseason for my team, and then I could figure out, okay, in real game situations against another college team, you know, who executes the best, who looks the best, who has the best talent, who's just good on paper, and who looks the best in real time. And I'd like to see that decision made game one, because I think that if they had made that in game one, Oklahoma State at least would have one more win, and they would have been 7-1, and now they would be 8-1 instead of 7-2, and they would also be in the national title discussion. I think that's how much that hurt them going that 3-quarterback system. But now they got their guy. They're winning games. They've won 5 straight now. I don't think they'll get in the national title playoff this year. But they might be the cause why they expand it from 4 to 8 teams. We'll see what happens. That just gets you an extra week of college football. Nothing wrong with that. I don't think it hurts anything. Okay, I think this video has gone on long enough. It's gone on probably 10 minutes longer than I really wanted it to. And I just really appreciate and thank everybody for liking things, subscribing, hitting that notification button, and sharing things out. I still don't have a lot of comments. No new comments on any of the videos. It's just the way it is. I'm sure if you guys have stuff to say, mention it down in the comments. If you want different type of content instead of sports talk, we can totally do that. I can do reaction videos. I can watch older TV. See how we can get movies. My voice isn't bad. I could try singing. I've thought about that. And ways to be able to kind of put my own spin on copyrighted items, or at least do that. But that's not my strong suit. All that other stuff would be better. Or if there's games that you want to see me play, feel free to leave a comment and do that. But as always, this is Glowing Card Gaming. I am Adam, and everyone, be good to each other.